The sky above New Haven burned orange as the evacuation ships lifted off one after another. Their engines lit up the evening like artificial suns, leaving trails of white smoke in their wake. On the ground, Marine Sergeant James Miller watched another group of civilians rush toward the last remaining ships. His helmet radio crackled with desperate voices calling for immediate evacuation. The swarm was coming. Everyone knew what that meant. They had seen the footage from other colonies. Entire worlds turned to crystal, every living thing consumed. The evacuation order had come 3 days ago, and now the colony of New Haven was almost empty. Miller checked his rifle's charge for the 10th time and continued his final sweep of the warehouse district. His orders were simple: make sure no one got left behind. The sound of breaking glass made him spin around, rifle raised. The noise came from a warehouse with its door half open. "This is Sergeant Miller," he called out, moving closer. "If anyone's in there, come out now. Last evac ships are leaving soon." The only response was another crash from inside. Miller switched on his rifle's light and stepped through the door. The warehouse was mostly empty, except for some broken crates and abandoned supplies. His light beam cut through the darkness, revealing knocked-over boxes and scattered tools. Something moved behind a fallen shelf, something that gave off a soft blue glow. "Come out slowly," Miller said, keeping his voice calm. "I'm here to help." A small figure emerged from behind the shelf. Miller's breath caught in his throat. It was a Lumini child, her skin giving off a gentle blue light that shifted to a worried purple. She couldn't have been more than 12 in human years. Her large eyes reflected his rifle's light, and she held up her hands to show she wasn't dangerous. "Are you hurt?" Miller asked, lowering his weapon. The girl shook her head. He knew the Lumini could understand human speech, even if some had trouble speaking it. "My name's James," he said, tapping his chest. "What's yours?" The girl's skin flickered between colors before settling on a calmer blue. "Lily," she said quietly, her voice carrying the musical quality all Lumini had. "Where's your family, Lily?" Her skin darkened to a deep blue. Sadness, Miller remembered from his cultural training. "They run to ships," she said. "I hide here because scared. Now they gone." Miller's radio crackled again. "All personnel, be advised. Swarm advance elements detected at system edge. All remaining AVAC ships departing in 30 minutes. Repeat, 30 minutes to final evacuation." He looked at the frightened alien child, then at his radio, then back at her. "Come on," he said, holding out his hand. "We're getting you to those ships." They ran through the empty streets, past abandoned homes and shops. Lily's skin pulsed with fear yellow whenever they heard a distant crash or explosion. The evacuation zone was chaos. Crowds pushing to get onto the last ships, Marines trying to maintain order, medical teams helping the injured. Miller carried Lily through the crowd to the passenger processing point. "I found a child," he told the civilian administrator. Lumini girl, separated from her family. The administrator barely looked up from his tablet. "Ship manifests are all closed. No more additions without direct military override. She's a child. And the ships are at maximum capacity. We're already exceeding safety limits." The administrator finally looked at them. "I'm sorry. Next relief ships are due in 2 weeks. Once the swarm is detected, they'll send." "The swarm will be here in less than a day," Miller cut him off. "Then pray they pass us by." The administrator turned away to deal with another crisis. Miller felt Lily's hand tighten in his. Her skin had gone almost white with fear. He looked up at the ships, then at the horizon where the first signs of the swarm would soon appear. The next 2 weeks would be hell, if they survived at all. His orders were clear. All military personnel were to evacuate on the final transport. He made his decision. Miller switched his radio to the command channel. "Command, this is Sergeant Miller. Be advised I am remaining planetside with a civilian dependent. Will require extraction once relief ships arrive." The response was immediate. "Negative, Sergeant. All personnel are ordered to evacuate immediately. Sorry, Command. Can't do that. Miller out. He switched off his radio and looked down at Lily, whose skin had shifted to a surprised pink. Don't worry. I know a place we can hold out. And I promise you, I won't leave you behind. The last ships rose into the darkening sky as Miller led Lily toward the military district. Whatever came next, they would face it together. Miller led Lily through the empty streets of the military district, his boots echoing against the pavement. The last transport ships were now just distant lights in the sky, leaving behind an eerie silence broken only by the wind and occasional sound of falling debris. Lily's skin glowed a nervous yellow-green as she stayed close to his side. Almost there, Miller said, pointing to a large building ahead. That's the emergency command bunker. It has food, water, and strong walls. We'll be safe there. As they approached the entrance, Miller's tactical pad beeped. He pulled it out and checked the screen, his face growing serious. The swarm's advanced ships had entered the system's inner planets. They had less than 12 hours before the first wave reached New Haven. The bunker's entrance required a military ID scan. Miller pressed his palm against the reader, and the heavy doors slid open with a hiss. Inside, emergency lights cast everything in a dim red glow. Lily's natural luminescence made beautiful patterns on the metal walls as they walked deeper into the facility. Never been in human military place, Lily said softly, her English improving as she grew more comfortable. It's very strong. She touched the thick walls with her delicate fingers, leaving brief traces of light that faded like dying stars. Miller smiled. That's the idea. Come on, let's find the command center. We need to see what we're working with. They found the command center 2 levels down. Miller's security clearance gave him access to all systems, and soon the room hummed with life as computers and screens activated. He started checking their resources while Lily explored the room, her curiosity temporarily overcoming her fear. Good news, Miller said after a while. We have enough supplies to last 3 months. Water recyclers are working, and the power core is at full capacity. He didn't mention that they probably wouldn't need 3 months of supplies. Either help would arrive in 2 weeks or... Lily suddenly stopped moving. Her skin shifted to a deep red, a color Miller hadn't seen before. What's wrong? He asked, reaching for his rifle. I feel them, she whispered. The swarm. They're closer than your machines say. Her skin pulsed with swirling patterns of red and black. My people always know when they come. That's why we run first. Miller quickly checked the long-range sensors. They showed the swarm still hours away, but he trusted Lily's senses more than the computers. How can you feel them? They sing, Lily said, struggling to explain. Not with voice. With light. Like my people, but wrong. Cold light. Hungry light. She hugged herself, her glow dimming. They want to talk to us, but their talk kills. An idea formed in Miller's mind. He pulled up the bunker's system files and found something interesting. An experimental defense system designed to create energy fields. It had never been tested in combat, but maybe. Lily, he said, can you show me what their light feels like? Use your own light. She nodded and concentrated. Her skin began to pulse with an odd crystalline pattern that made Miller's eyes hurt. The bunker's sensors suddenly went crazy, registering energy patterns they'd never been designed to detect. That's it. Miller quickly typed commands into the system. The defense system. We can tune it to interfere with their communication. Maybe even hurt them. He looked at Lily with newfound respect. You might have just given us a fighting chance. A distant rumble shook the bunker. Lily's skin flashed warning colors. They're coming faster now. Many of them. Miller finished his preparations and grabbed his rifle. Then we better get ready. But first, he dug through his combat pack and pulled out a ration bar. You should eat something. It's not great, but it's food. Lily took the bar, her skin shifting to a warm purple. Gratitude, Miller guessed. As she ate, he watched the sensor displays and thought about the choice he'd made. Command would be furious with him for disobeying orders, but looking at the young Lumini girl, he knew he'd made the right decision. Sometimes being a soldier meant protecting those who needed it, regardless of orders. Sleep soon, he told her. I'll take first watch. Tomorrow we'll start setting up our defenses. He checked his rifle again, a habit born from years of service. Together, we're going to show the swarm they picked the wrong planet to invade. Lily's skin glowed with a determined blue as she nodded. Together, she repeated, the word carrying both promise and hope. The first day in the bunker started early. Miller woke to find Lily already up, her skin glowing a soft morning blue as she watched the sensor screens. She had insisted on letting him sleep through the night, saying she didn't need as much rest as humans. Now her light pulsed with gentle patterns that made the command center feel almost peaceful. They're moving slower now, Lily said without turning around, like they're looking for something. Her fingers traced patterns in the air, matching the movement of distant dots on the screen that represented the swarm. Miller checked the defense system readings while drinking cold coffee from his supplies. The experimental energy field generators were ready, but they needed proper positioning. We have work to do, he said. Need to set up the defense grid before they get too close. They spent the morning activating defense points around the bunker. Each generator had to be placed carefully and linked to the main system. Miller handled the heavy lifting, while Lily's sensitivity to the swarm's energy helped them tune each field to the right frequency. This one feels wrong, Lily said as they worked on the third generator. Her skin flickered with warning colors. Too sharp. It might break early. She placed her hand on the machine, and her natural light seemed to dance with its energy field. Should be smoother, like water, not like broken glass. Miller adjusted the settings based on her feedback. The generator's hum changed to a lower tone, and Lily's skin shifted to an approving green. He was constantly amazed by how her species' natural abilities worked with their technology. It was like they were meant to find each other, to work together against this threat. Around noon, they felt the first tremors. The swarm was testing the ground, sending crystal formations to probe the planet's surface. Lily's skin flashed warning colors before their sensors even picked up the activity. They rushed back to the command center, watching as the first crystal spires erupted from the earth at the edge of the city. They're beautiful, Lily whispered, her voice mixing fear and awe. The crystal formations caught the sunlight, sending rainbow patterns across the empty streets. But their beauty kills everything it touches. Miller activated the defense grid. Energy fields sprang to life around the bunker, invisible except where crystal dust in the air made them shimmer. He watched the power readings carefully. They had limited energy, and every use of the fields drained their reserves. The first attack came in the afternoon. Crystal spires shot up from the ground near their perimeter, trying to breach their defenses. The energy fields flared, and the crystals shattered. Lily's skin pulsed with each clash, her natural light synchronizing with the defense grid. It's working. Miller checked the readings. The fields were holding, and power consumption was lower than expected. Your adjustments made the fields more efficient. We're using less energy than the simulations predicted. But their success had drawn attention. More crystal formations appeared, probing their defenses from different angles. Lily's skin shifted to alert colors as she pointed to the screens. They're learning, she said, trying to find weak spots. Like hunters. Miller brought up the bunker's external cameras. The view took his breath away. The entire horizon was filled with crystalline structures, beautiful and deadly. The swarm had surrounded them completely, but they kept their distance from the energy fields, creating a perfect circle of safety around the bunker. We're trapped, Lily said quietly, her skin dimming to worried colors. Miller checked their power reserves and supplies. We're safe, he corrected her. And we only need to hold out for 13 more days. The relief ships will come. He put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Besides, we've already survived longer than anyone expected. We've proved the defense system works. Lily's skin brightened slightly. Because we work together, she said. Then her colors shifted to alarm red. Look. On the screens, the crystal formations were changing, growing into new shapes they hadn't seen before. The swarm was adapting, preparing for something new. Miller gripped his rifle and checked the defense grid settings. Whatever came next, they would face it together. 3 days had passed since the swarm's first attack. Miller sat at the command console, watching the crystal formations shift and change. They hadn't attacked again, not directly. Instead, they moved in patterns, creating complex crystalline structures that caught the light in strange ways. Beside him, Lily hadn't slept for hours, her skin rippling with confused colors. "They're trying to talk," she said suddenly, breaking the silence. Her skin pulsed with deep purple waves. Not like before. Different now. Softer. She pressed her hands against the screen, leaving trails of light that faded slowly. "They know I'm here." Miller checked the defense readings again. The energy fields were stable, but power consumption had increased slightly. "What are they saying?" Not words. More like. Lily's skin shifted through several colors as she searched for the right way to explain. Like music made of light. But wrong somehow. Broken. She looked at Miller with worried eyes. "They're lonely." A new crystal formation rose from the ground, taller than the others. Unlike the sharp, aggressive spires from before, this one grew in smooth, curved shapes. It caught the morning light and sent it spinning in patterns that matched the colors of Lily's skin. "Look at this," Miller said, bringing up sensor data. "The energy signature changed. It's similar to your bioluminescence now." He showed Lily the readings, pointing out the matching wavelengths. "They're copying you." Lily's skin flickered with surprise colors. "My people, we use light to talk, to share feelings." "The swarm," she touched the screen again. "They're trying to learn our language." The tall crystal structure began to pulse with its own light, creating patterns that made Miller's head hurt to watch. But Lily leaned forward, her skin responding with matching rhythms. The defense sensors registered the exchange, showing energy patterns unlike anything they'd seen before. All this time, Miller said slowly, everyone thought they were just destroying worlds. But what if they were trying to communicate? He brought up historical data about swarm attacks. "Look, they always attacked worlds with Lumini colonies first, not because they hated your people. Because they wanted to talk to us," Lily finished. Her skin swirled with revelation colors, bright golds and silvers. "But their way of talking kills. They don't understand." The crystal formation outside grew brighter, its light becoming almost beautiful. But where it touched the ground, smaller crystals spread outward, consuming everything they touched. The swarm couldn't help it. Destruction was part of their nature, even when they tried to be gentle. Miller made a decision. He adjusted the defense field settings, creating a small gap. "Can you talk back to them? Tell them to stop." Lily's skin flashed warning colors. "Dangerous. They might not understand. Might kill us. We need to try. If we can prove communication is possible." Miller gestured at the readings. "This could change everything. The whole war." Lily stood silent for a moment, her skin shifting through thoughtful colors. Then she stepped closer to the gap in the defenses. Her light began to pulse in clear, simple patterns, like someone speaking very slowly and clearly to be understood. The crystal formation responded immediately, its light matching her patterns. But its response was too strong, too eager. The defense sensors screamed warnings as energy levels spiked. Miller's hand hovered over the control to close the gap. "Wait," Lily said, her voice tense but determined. She adjusted her light patterns, making them softer, gentler. The crystal formation dimmed slightly, trying to copy her restraint. "They're learning. Like baby learning to talk. Must be careful not to shout." For the next hour, they watched as Lily taught the swarm to communicate without destroying. It was like watching someone learn to whisper after only knowing how to scream. Sometimes the crystal lights flared too bright, too destructive, but each time they pulled back, trying again more gently. "This changes everything," Miller said quietly, recording everything for the relief ships, "if we can teach them to communicate safely." Lily's skin glowed with tired but happy colors. "Then no more worlds need to die. No more running." She looked at Miller with grateful eyes. "You stayed to save me. Now maybe we save everyone." Outside, the crystal formation continued its light conversation with Lily, its patterns becoming smoother, more controlled. The first step toward understanding had been made, all because one human soldier had chosen to stay behind with an alien child everyone else had forgotten. The discovery about the swarm's attempts to communicate didn't make them less dangerous. If anything, the next few days became harder as more crystal formations appeared, each trying to talk in their own destructive way. Miller and Lily worked together constantly, adjusting their defenses to handle the increasing pressure. Like excited children with too much power, Lily said, her skin glowing with tired orange patterns as she helped Miller repair one of the defense generators. The machine had overloaded from blocking too many crystal growth attempts. They don't know their own strength. Miller wiped sweat from his forehead and checked the power readings. Their energy reserves were running lower than he liked. "Children or not, they'll crack this generator if we don't find a better way." He looked at the screens showing the crystal formations surrounding them. "We need to teach them boundaries." Lily's skin brightened with an idea. "Like teaching baby Lumini. We use soft light first, then stronger if they don't listen." She moved to the command console and began adjusting the defense field settings. "Make fields copy my light patterns. When swarm is gentle, fields get gentle. When swarm pushes too hard." Miller caught on to her plan. The fields pushed back harder, like training with consequences. He helped her program the new response patterns. It was tricky work, combining human technology with Lily's natural abilities, but they had gotten good at working together. They tested the new system when the next crystal formation tried to breach their perimeter. The defense fields flickered with Lily's light patterns, almost like they were speaking. When the crystal's energy pushed too hard, the fields flared strongly, shattering the growth. But when the next formation approached more gently, the fields responded with softer resistance. "It's working." Lily's skin pulsed with excitement colors. The crystal formations were learning, their approaches becoming more controlled. They understand boundaries now. Miller checked their power reserves again. The new system actually used less energy than before, as the swarm's gentler attempts required less power to contain. "You're amazing, Lily. No one ever thought of communicating with them like this." "Because humans fight with weapons," Lily said, her skin showing teaching colors, soft blues and greens she used when explaining things. "My people fight with running away. Nobody try teaching." She looked out at the crystal field through the bunker's cameras. Nobody stayed long enough to understand. A warning alarm interrupted them. One of the larger crystal formations was growing too quickly, its light patterns chaotic and dangerous. Miller rushed to reinforce the defense fields in that sector, but Lily stopped him. "Wait," she said, her skin showing calm colors. "Watch." Other crystal formations around the chaotic one began to pulse with steady, controlled patterns, the same ones Lily had been teaching them. The wild formation slowed its growth, its light dimming to match the others. They were teaching each other. "Now that's something you don't see every day," Miller said softly. He added the interaction to his growing record of observations. When the relief ships arrived, this information would be priceless. They spent the next day improving their communication system. Lily taught Miller to recognize different light patterns and what they meant. Happy patterns meant the swarm was learning successfully. Warning patterns meant they were about to try something new. The defense fields responded to each pattern automatically now, creating a constant dialogue of light and energy. 9 days until relief ships, Miller said that evening, sharing a ration bar with Lily. "Think we can keep this up?" Lily's skin glowed with confident colors. We teach them more each day. Soon maybe they talk without breaking things. She looked at the latest sensor readings. More swarm coming, but different now. Calmer. First ones teaching others. Miller nodded, watching the screens. The crystal formations had created a perfect circle around their bunker, but now it looked less like a siege and more like an audience. They were all learning, all trying to understand this new way of communicating. You know, he said, checking their defense grid one last time before rest period. When I decided to stay behind, I thought we'd just be trying to survive. Never imagined we'd end up teaching the swarm how to be gentle. Lily's skin rippled with happy colors. Best teacher is one who stays when others leave. The 11th day brought a breakthrough nobody could have expected. Miller was checking the defense grid's power levels when Lily suddenly grabbed his arm, her skin flashing with discovery colors he had never seen before. Bright silvers mixed with deep blues. Look, she pointed at one of the crystal formations. They're showing memories. The crystal structure had changed its light patterns. Instead of the simple communication pulses they had grown used to, it now projected complex patterns into the air. The patterns formed shapes, planets, stars, and strange crystalline beings moving through space. Miller adjusted the sensors to better record the display. They're trying to tell us their story, he said, watching as the light shapes danced in the air. Can you understand it? Lily's skin shifted through understanding colors as she watched. They're lost, she said softly. Long ago, their world broke, shattered into pieces. They survived by becoming crystal, but her skin darkened with sad colors. They forgot how to change back, forgot how to be soft. The crystal story continued, showing how they wandered through space, searching for others like themselves. But everything they touched turned to crystal, planets, moons, entire solar systems. They didn't mean to destroy. They were looking for someone who could teach them to be living things again. That's why they followed my people, Lily said, her voice filled with wonder. Lumini light is like old memories to them. Reminds them of what they used to be. Her skin pulsed with gentle patterns, and the crystals responded, their light matching her rhythm perfectly. Miller quickly typed notes into the computer. This changes everything we thought we knew about them. They're not invaders. They're refugees, survivors looking for help. He looked at their power readings with new understanding, and our defense fields didn't just stop them. The fields helped them remember. Lily finished his thought, her skin bright with excitement. When fields copy my light, crystal people remember how to be gentle. Remember what it feels like to be soft. Another crystal formation began sharing its memories, then another. Soon the air above the bunker was filled with light stories. Miller and Lily worked together to record everything, their sensors struggling to capture all the information being shared. 6 ships detected entering the system. The computer suddenly announced. Miller checked the readings and felt his heart jump. The relief ships were early, arriving ahead of schedule. But something was different about these ships. Not just human ships, Lily said, her skin showing recognition patterns. Lumini ships too. My people came back. She pressed her hands against the screen, leaving excited light traces. They must have heard our messages about talking to the crystal people. Miller watched as the ships approached carefully, their paths avoiding the crystal formations. He sent out their collected data. Everything they had learned about communicating with the swarm, their discoveries about the crystal's true nature, and the breakthrough in understanding their story. The response came quickly. Sergeant Miller, this is Admiral Chen. We've received your data. A joint human Lumini science team is on its way to your position. Hold your ground. The crystal formations sensed the approaching ships, but instead of attacking or trying to consume them, they began sharing their memories again, reaching out with their light stories. The swarm had finally found someone who could understand them, who could help them remember how to change. We did it, Miller said quietly, watching as the relief ships began their landing approach outside the crystal circle. We actually did it. Lily's skin glowed with the proudest colors he had ever seen. Because you stayed, she said. Because you listened when others ran, taught when others fought. She touched his hand, leaving a trace of grateful light. Now crystal people can learn to be soft again. No more worlds need to break. Miller smiled, checking their defense grid one last time. Soon, the bunker would be full of scientists and diplomats, all eager to learn what they had discovered. But for now, he just watched as Lily's light danced with the crystal stories, teaching them, helping them remember how to be gentle in a universe that had forced them to become hard. The bunker felt crowded now. Scientists and military personnel from both human and Lumini ships filled the command center, studying data and talking excitedly about the breakthrough. Miller watched from a quiet corner as Lily helped them understand the crystal people's light language. Her skin glowed with teacher colors as she showed them how to interpret the different patterns. Sergeant Miller. Admiral Chen approached him, holding a datapad. Your report makes for incredible reading. 2 weeks ago, we thought the swarm was humanity's greatest threat. Now, thanks to you and Lily, we might have found our greatest allies. Miller nodded toward Lily, who was demonstrating how to adjust the defense fields to better communicate with the crystals. It was mostly her. I just stayed to help. That's not what she says, the Admiral replied. She tells everyone who will listen that your choice to stay changed everything. He looked down at his pad. Which brings me to why I'm here. We're forming a new unit, the Interspecies Communication Corps, joint operation between humans and Lumini, focused on helping the crystal people recover their original form. Miller watched as outside, through the bunker's windows, crystal formations continued sharing their light stories with the research teams. You want me to join. We want you to help lead it. The Admiral corrected. You and Lily. You've proven that humans and Lumini working together can achieve the impossible. We need that experience. Before Miller could respond, excited voices called out from the command console. One of the crystal formations was changing. Its surface had become softer, less rigid. Under Lily's guidance, it was remembering how to be fluid, how to shift its form. First success, one of the scientists announced. Partial reversion to organic state achieved. Lily's skin blazed with joy colors so bright they lit up the whole room. She rushed to Miller, leaving trails of happy light in the air. They remember, she said, grabbing his hand. They remember how to be soft. The Admiral smiled. Seems like the Corps already has its first victory. What do you say, Sergeant? Miller looked at Lily, her skin still glowing with excitement. What do you think, partner? Ready for a new mission? Teaching is best mission, she said, her skin showing determination colors. Crystal people need help remembering. Need patience. She squeezed his hand. Need people who stay. 2 months later, Miller stood on the observation deck of the ICC Hope, the first ship specifically designed for communication with the crystal people. The vessel combined human technology with Lumini light communication systems, creating a mobile teaching platform for helping the swarm recover their original form. Lily worked beside him, her new uniform marking her as a senior communication specialist. Her skin glowed with professional colors as she adjusted the ship's crystal talk arrays. They had already helped 3 crystal groups begin their transformation back to organic life. It was slow work, but every success brought more hope. Message from the surface, one of the crew called out. Another crystal cluster is ready to try the change. Take us in, Miller ordered. He looked at the main screen, where crystal formations rose like beautiful mountains from the planet's surface. Once, humans had run from that sight in terror. Now they came toward it with hope and purpose. Lily's skin shifted to memory colors, the soft blue she used when thinking about their time in the bunker. Remember when you stayed behind? She asked quietly. Everyone thought we would die. Instead, we found a whole new way of living. Miller smiled. Best decision I ever made. He watched as the ship's crystal talk arrays powered up, ready to help another group of the crystal people remember their true nature. Though I didn't exactly plan for all this. Best plans are sometimes no plans, Lily said wisely, her skin glowing with gentle teaching colors. Just good heart making right choice. The crystal formations below began to pulse with familiar patterns, the light language they had first learned in that bunker on New Haven. Miller and Lily worked together at the communication console, sending back the patterns that would help these lost travelers remember how to be themselves again. They had started as just a soldier and a left-behind child. Now they were teachers, healers, bridge builders between species, all because when everyone else left, one human soldier chose to stay.